Things Possible TV. We have a guest today, and I'm so excited to have you get to meet a friend of mine. This is Jason Hewlett. Jason,
Hi.
thanks for being on our show.
Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to let you get to hear about him and the things he's doing in this world to change the lives of so many people and making a difference. So Jason, we're just going to get totally started right off.
Okay.
I met you, well, I saw you for the first time a little over a year ago. It was an event for women, and you got on stage, and it was hilarious.
Thank you.
But you also shared about how we should embrace our gifts and our talents and our abilities, and sometimes they don't look like gifts. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started into the speaking and entertaining world and kind of your journey?
Sure. No, thank you. You know, where you saw me, I was in the middle of a major transition. I was in the transition of trying to not just be an entertainer, but also be a speaker and entertain people, inspire them. And you caught me at an interesting time, because what I did, I believe, was I stood up and I did Motown, and I did Smokey Robinson, and If There's a Smile Upon My Face. And then I went into Diana Ross, you know, Stop in the Name of Love. So I did all these voices, and then I went into my message, which is about discovering that thing that makes us different.
That's right.
And that is what I call a signature move. We all have one. We all have something that makes us unique. And I discovered mine as a kid when I got on the bus, I think I shared that story. I got on the bus at school, and I'm the kid with the big mouth, first day of school, totally embarrassed. You know, even though I was in my heart, you know, when you're a kid, you're just like, here I am, yay. And I'm on the bus, la, 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 and I'm not nervous, I'm excited, and I get on there, and I'm 5 years old, and I went up to this guy who was a bully, essentially, and I said, hey, I want to sit with you. And he was like, what are you doing here, man? He was a high school football jock. And I said, I want to sit with you, man. And he goes, you're weird. And I went, I'm not weird. I went, and I just opened my mouth. And I thought that would diffuse the situation, but it made it worse. And so then he made fun of me all the way to school. So that was a tough moment for me, because no one had ever called me ugly or weird or different or anything. And I went home after the first day of school being laughed at, made fun of all day, and I said to my mom, I don't want to go back. And they said I'm ugly and I have a big mouth. And she said, you're not ugly, but you have a big mouth. And so I do. I have a big mouth. And it took quite a while until I found out that it was okay to have a big mouth. And that was at the dentist. And that's where it all changed, you know. Everybody else was making fun of me for the mouth thing, but the dentist said, you have a gift. And it was in that shift, even as a 5 or 6 year old, whenever the dentist thing happened, I don't recall exactly when, but he's still my dentist today, by the way.
That's awesome.
30 years later. But that guy said, when I opened my mouth, he goes, open wide, and I'm like, ah, and he goes, I can use both hands. You know, I mean, he's so thrilled. And he said, this is amazing. You have a gift. I said, this is not a gift. You know. And he goes, that's a gift. And that was the time that I started to think, okay, how can I use that? And I found out that I could do voices and sounds and faces and make people laugh in a way that infused joy in me and kept me out of that place in my head where you're thinking, I'm no good, or if someone tells you you're ugly, you're like, oh, I am? Oh, my heck, I didn't realize that. You know?
Yes.
Whereas some people have enough confidence that someone says, you're no good, and you're like, whatever, I'm the greatest. Right. Most people aren't there.
Yeah, most people
hear it, you know, like, you're fat, or you're no good, you can't make money, you'll never write your book, you'll never accomplish anything. They're like, oh, you're right.
Right, they believe it.
Yeah.
They believe what they hear, and most of us have been telling ourselves that anyway.
We tell ourselves, that's the worst part.
Right.
Yeah, so we just create this poison that we continually consume, and we tell ourselves, I can't do it. Everyone's told me I can't do it, and then all of a sudden, you can't. And so my dentist, that whole thing, that changed a lot, because I realized I could make somebody laugh with my mouth.
And that's awesome.
Right.
Did you ever feel that it wasn't an asset after that? I mean, did you hit your teenage years and stuff and struggle?
I had girls tell me how ugly I was, and you know, and that they didn't want to go out with me, and I was too weird because I did these faces, because I practiced these faces that made people laugh. It was like I found out I could do the control of one lip, you know, and that nobody in my class could do it, and that made them laugh. And then I could do the other side, and then everyone's like, oh, that's amazing, you know. But then I could do them both, and it was like, hey, ladies, you know, and they were like, ew, you know. So that just didn't help at all. But what it did was it made people laugh.
Right.
But when the girl would say, I'd say, hey, want to go to the dance? They're like, no, you do all those weird faces, and no. I mean, that's tough.
That is tough.
Because you're thinking, yeah, I think this is fun, this is cool. So yeah, that sort of thing happened all the time. Big mouth guy, whatever. I had braces and teeth everywhere, you know, but that's just part of growing up. And eventually I found that by opening my mouth was where my gift was. It was in opening my mouth in the hall and singing so someone heard me, and in making people laugh by opening my mouth. And the only way we can truly share a message other than being the message is sharing it through our mouth. So that's what I
That's true. We have to open our mouth to really be able to make a difference.
Not like that.
I don't know.
Close.
I still, opening your mouth, that gets some attention.
So,
Do you think that your journey has been easy? I mean, several people, you know, even my journey that I've been on recently, it's not always easy. What kind of bumps in the road have you hit? And
well, to be honest, I have not had a tough journey. I've had some bumps, but I grew up in a very wonderful environment. My parents amazing. I had supportive, not only family, but mentors, people that really helped me. I went to a private school, but I also learned kind of the opposite end, the importance of working hard. And when something did come up against it, how I could just outwork everybody else and I could get to that next level. And so as far as big challenges that came my way, nothing really that, like, I mean, like I've read about your life and I'm going, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, how's she still happy? But for me, it's just kind of one roadblock, okay, I can get through it. Another roadblock, I can get through it. And I have people like you in my life that are examples. You know, I mean, friends that, whether it's a friend with cancer, and you watch them go through it and you're like, what would I do? Right. And so that's kind of how any challenges I've had has been through other people that I've observed. And then I say, I want to live a better life because that person helped me learn to live better. Does that make sense?
It does.
So
makes total sense. And I hope that our listeners can relate to that as well, because it isn't just, we aren't just ourself and only our conditions and our problems and our things. It's everyone around us.
Yeah.
It's a society. Yeah. And it's our neighbors and it's our friends and our families that really get us through those things and teach us the things we need. The hard work. That's a huge lesson, is to be able to work really hard and get past it and not give up.
Yeah. And I mean, hey, there was nobody that when I said, after I got home from my service in Brazil as a missionary for my church, I got home at the age of 21 and they said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to go be an entertainer. And they're like, what does that mean? Go to college. Go get married. Do something with your life. And I said, I'm going to be a dancer and I'm going to sing and I'm going to... And they're like, that makes no sense. And every person I went to said, that makes no sense. And I knew what it was in my head. And I created it. I created an entire career out of this idea of being on a stage, entertaining people, not just with comedy, but with impressions and with voices and with music and with dancing and inspiring stories. And they were like, no one does that. And I said, that's why I'm here. You know, so that was that. But I came up against roadblocks, challenges, lost lots of money trying to get to, you know, a good place, and lost $100,000 in Vegas to a guy trying to tell me how to do my show. And, you know, I mean, those kind of challenges come your way.
Those things come, especially in this field.
Yeah.
One thing that you said is that you didn't listen. You didn't listen to everyone that was telling you couldn't do it, you shouldn't do it that way, you should do it some other way.
Right, yeah.
How did you get that belief in yourself? What could you tell all of these people that could give them a better belief in themselves, to trust their own intuition, to trust themselves and believe in themselves enough that they don't let the other influences in?
Okay. I'll be honest, I really had little other choice. I mean, school made no sense. I wasn't going to go to college. There was nothing for me there other than pretty girls potentially. And so I decided I'm just going to go this path. I remember sitting in school as a kid going, why am I here? I'm just here to make people laugh on this planet. I'm supposed to just bring light to the world. That's all I'm here, and that's all I'm good at. And so I said, when I got home and from my mission and I started to talk to people, older guys, they were like, yeah, I got a job, I had a job my whole life, 35, 40 years, and now it's over, and now I'm going to die. And I wish I'd have gone for that dream I had when I was young, or I wish I'd have gone there. And I thought, I'm not going to live like that. I can't do it.
Right.
Even if I fail all the way until, I end up saying, I need to get a real job. I said, I am going to push until it works. I've burned the bridges, I burned the ships, and I went, here I go. And yeah, it was crazy, actually. It was crazy. But it works if you're committed, if you're 100% into it, and if you believe yourself. If you believe that God gave you a gift, sent you here for a reason, why not? And
right.
And why not you? I mean, why would he choose me? He chose me, gave me one gift, and he gave everyone watching a gift, or maybe multiple gifts. But I can do this, and I was not born able to do that. That took practice. I was only able to start with that.
I was going to say, why don't you show them some of your gifts?
I started with that, and then I figured out I could do the bottom, and then I could do the wave like you're surfing, and then I figured out the nose thing, and it took me years to figure that out. But why was I working on that? I had no idea. It just made people laugh. But because I was good at it, because that was something that people responded to, I realized, hey, maybe I can capitalize on this somehow and make people smile. Jim Carrey showed up, and thank goodness for that. All of a sudden I went, well, maybe I could be an actor.
Right.
And I tried that route a little bit. I prefer stage, and so I went that route. But anyway.
Well, tell us about, you started out with more corporate.
Yeah.
More in the entertainment world.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
I started with the Las Vegas Legends in Concert. That was my first big paying gig. To be honest, the first real paid thing was $100 for Intermountain Healthcare, their Christmas party. They hired me to do 10 minutes. They cut me down to 1 minute before I went on. I said, are you still going to pay me? They said, yeah. Just sing one minute song. So I did Alvin and the Chipmunks. So it was a Christmas party. I was like, Christmas, Christmas, town of the town, and they went nuts. It was 1 minute.
And I used to like that song when I was little.
Oh, okay, yeah. And it was a 1 minute song, and I got paid $100. I said, wow, this is cool. And so then I just kept using and practicing all of my voices and stuff, put it together. And I got a job with the Legends in Concert in Las Vegas. I was Ricky Martin for them for all
Awesome.
9 months of his career. And then I became Elton John after that, which was more of a life extended career. And so I got to be these characters, and that was bizarre because you can't come out and be like, hey, I'm Ricky Martin. That doesn't work,
Right.
So I had to be this guy, and it was weird. But I got paid good money. And when I was done with that, I said, okay, I've got to go try corporate. So luckily I had a dad who had corporate connections. And you've got to use your resources.
That's right.
Whoever you know.
You do have to use
Tell
resources.
everybody, your friends, your family, your grandma. And the next thing I know, I'm getting gigs for free all over the country. And then I'm getting paid. And then my wife got to quit her job. And then I'm making a living.
That's fun to bring your wife home.
Yeah. And she was
stay
my
with your
manager
kids.
for a couple weeks until we were like, okay, that's not working. You just be awesome at the house and I'll do the deal.
Right.
So yeah, that was how it all began, and I've performed for over 2,000 corporations in the last 12 years, and over 1 million people have seen me in live audience situations, not just on television like this show. But it was very cool to have that kind of career, and I started to get, Kris, to this place where I was like, I'm just making drunk people laugh for a lot of money. And that would be great for most people. Like, most people are like, I don't care who's laughing as long as the check clears. But for me, I said, I always wanted to kind of be a mix between Sammy Davis Jr. and Zig Ziglar. I wanted to be both. And there wasn't anybody I'd seen like that. And so I said, I'm going to burn the bridges again. And I pretty much cut off all of my corporate clients and said, I'm going to go speak to kids, because nothing makes me happier than seeing little kids actually get that you can get past the bully or the person that says you can't do it, or the teacher that says, don't draw ever again, you're no good at it. And it's an artist sitting there.
Right.
You know? And so that's
well, and these
what
weren't
happened.
small corporations.
No.
What were some of the corporations that you were doing entertainment for?
I mean, in some years I'd do between 100 and 200 events, and it was awesome. It was crazy. Between American Express and Wells Fargo, Delta, Intermountain Healthcare, like I said, Sinclair Oil. Yeah, I mean, I did the Olympics when they came to Salt Lake City. You know,
Wow.
so yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I did. I did.
That's awesome.
I did like 4 shows a day during the Olympics up on Main Street, Park City, for the Coca-Cola suite. I mean, I had a cool career going, and I just said, I can make lots of money doing this thing that I've created and God's blessed me with. That's cool, but am I really making any difference? And so that's why I said, I want to go speak to kids. And that was a good and a bad choice. You're never supposed to let go of the vine before you grab the next one. And I did.
They have a movie, I think. With
Oh!
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, and I did that. And I almost ruined a lot of good things that I had going. My career just went... And because I confused lots of people. I retired from performing completely, from public shows. You can't see me anywhere. Only at a corporate event. And then I stopped doing the corporate. And I said, only speaking at schools. And to go from 5 figures per show to, $100 for a school.
Right.
Hello. I mean, you
Right.
can only have so much savings.
Right.
And
That is so true.
Yeah, so you have to be careful when you make those choices.
But you do have to follow
You have to follow your heart.
your heart.
Yeah.
You have to follow those good feelings and trust
Yeah.
in that again.
Yeah.
And start following that. And now you're in a lot of schools and you're everywhere,
Yeah.
making a huge difference and having that impact in youth. Youth right now are struggling so much. We
Yeah.
thought, okay,
That's horrible.
I'm older than you. We're not going to go there, but but we thought we had it tough when we were in school.
Yeah.
And yet I watched my kids hit high school, and it has changed a lot. The game has changed, and they need people like you
Yeah.
to really be able to give them that belief in themselves and that self-esteem and that empowerment to
Right.
be all that they can be and to trust themselves and stand up against all of those negatives that they're facing every day.
It's true. Yeah.
And we think, oh, you're going to school and it's all protected and careful, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's scary. And it's even down into the elementary schools. It is
Oh,
not
yeah.
just
That's
the
where it
older
begins.
teens.
That's where it starts.
Right.
That's where it started for me, and I have such a horrible experience of that world for me that I said, I need to go to speak to elementaries first. And last year alone, in 2013, I spoke to around 250,000 kids. That's how many
Wow.
assemblies and associations of youth I did. It was crazy. I was running everywhere around the country. And at a certain point, I realized, I don't know if this message really makes sense, what I'm saying. And that really freaked me out, because I thought I'm like Mr. Rogers out there and helping them feel strong and better. And all people would come up after and say is, you're funny. You're funny. You're so funny. Thanks for making me laugh. And I was like, that's not the point. The point
good
is
at
to
that part.
discover your strengths and be awesome. And they're like, you're funny. That was all they got out of it. And that was when I met my current mentor and business partner, Johnny Covey. And Johnny saw my speech and he said, dude, that is so funny. But what if you infused this idea of head to heart,
Right.
which is his creation? And I said, okay, that sounds interesting. And I started to go through this process of, when are we in our head? when are we attacking ourselves, and when are we allowing others to attack us? Or when are we in our heart? When do we have the possibility, and I'm worthy, and I'm great, and I can do it, I can go for it? And it's a choice. We all have that choice. And as I started to use that in my own life, that's when my message started to flourish. And that's when I saw that all of a sudden kids were seeing a difference. Kids were emailing me going, I just tried out for the play. I've always talked myself out of it, but I went for it and I made it. Thank you. I won't live in my heart now. And I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And I'm getting kids on the street walking up. You did my school. And instead of do that funny face, they were like, I asked that girl out that I always talked myself out of.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, boom. Yes. And so I'm so grateful I discovered that. And in that process of speaking to youth, discovering this message with Johnny Covey and Head to Heart, that's when I just rediscovered the love I had of making people laugh across the board. From kids to corporate folk, whoever it is, I just realized I'm a messenger of joy, and that's what I'm here for. Whether it's a little kid or a drunk guy at an event, doesn't matter. I'll make them laugh, and I can actually inspire them with the spirit that I bring and the joy that's there when I'm on stage. And so that's when I said to my old clients, hey, I think I'm coming back. I'm writing some new stuff, new material. I had the same show for 8 years. I just got sick of it, I think.
Just got tired.
Yeah.
And ready for a change.
I was in my head going, I can't create new material. I can't do anything new because all the other stuff is so good. But you have to talk yourself out of it, get in your heart and go, I'm going to go for it. I'm just going to throw it out there, and the new stuff is better than the old.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's cool.
So where are you going from here?
You know, I'm just trying to make everybody around me happy. That's my goal. I figure wherever you give value, it follows. And so I get paid to do something that is almost obscenely absurd, that I get to just make people laugh, and I get to spread a message, and I get to talk about my past and the kids and all that stuff. And I see it going to an amazing place. And with Johnny Covey as my partner in it, we're teaching teachers how to teach from their heart.
That's awesome.
We're teaching kids how to live from their heart. We're teaching corporations how to get their salespeople in their heart. Because, you know, a lot of sales guys, they're in a place. And the boss is in their place, in their head. We call it raptors. We all have raptors coming at us all the time. You know?
Now, I know what your raptor is. They might not know what your raptor is.
Well, like a raptor, like a velociraptor coming, you know, like a Jurassic Park. You know, imagine if you're just like, have this in your head. That's what it is. It's really a raptor going, you can't do it. You're no good. And that allows you to never progress.
Exactly.
And yet, we have those in our daily life. You walk home and you're like, oh man, my wife's sitting there. Is she a raptor to me? Kind of.
She could be.
Yeah. And am I a raptor to her? Maybe, by the way I critique her or something. And so how do I get past that? I make a choice. I get into my heart and I say, I'm going to be the best person I can be. I'm going to be the best dad possible. And I'm going to not allow those raptors to attack me and live from my heart.
That's awesome. I love that you love to be a good dad.
That's my favorite.
You love to be involved. Tell us a little bit about your family.
Well, we have 4 beautiful children, my wife and I. She and I have been married for 13 years. Amazing. And yeah, we have 4 kids under the age of 8. So we haven't slept in 9 years.
They have been busy.
Yeah. And so we're very blessed. They're so darling. And they're really the reason that I decided to do what I'm doing, the changes I'm making, because I see my daughter come home from her first day of school and say, I don't have any friends. Nobody will play with me. And I'm like, oh, not again. You know, it's like,
right.
I
you
know
feel it all
you
over
feel.
again.
Yeah. So I said, okay, I have to go make a difference at schools. And that's where that began. And then Sandy Hook happened, the killings, and that freaked me out so much. I said, I have to go speak to more kids.
Right.
So I just was running to try to speak. And my kids really drive all of the things that I'm doing. All of my material now, a majority of it is called Father Time. And I just talk about the funniness of trying to put them to bed and how they're awake at night and, you know, that whole crazy thing.
Right.
You know, it just never ends, but they're the best. So
And it's all worth it. And when you're to the
Totally.
teenage years, you can really relate to where my husband and I have been for a while.
I don't know how that's going to, I mean, I hear that's even harder than what I'm in the middle of.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And I'm thinking, this is pretty tough. But you know what's funny is, for those that might not have kids out there, if you don't have kids, best thing ever. Best thing ever. If you're in the right situation, if you can take care of them, give them your love, give them your best, and
Absolutely.
and your time. I mean, I was gone so much, doing so much corporate, that I said I'm like a dad on an airplane. I need to be home.
Right.
And so I started to figure out, how can I change my world so that I can at least be a structured, here a little bit more kind of guy.
Right.
That's working slowly. It's hard to get there. You got to charge really high rates at the corporate dates.
Yeah, you do.
know,
You
so-
do. And you have to make a balance.
Yeah.
You have to make it work.
Yeah.
Well, Jason,
Yeah.
again,
Thanks
thank you
for-
so much for being on our show.
Thank you.
Tell them where they can see more of you. What's the best way to
Well-
see Jason Hewlett?
Best place is jasonhewlett.com. A lot of people misspell Hewlett, even though it's on your printer. But
It is.
Hewlett is Hewlett, jasonhewlett.com. And what's fun about that website is I have videos where you can watch them with your family. And a lot of parents have such a hard time getting together with their kids or connecting, especially the teenage years where there's been so many past experiences that have been negative, that you can't get past that self-talk in your head. I can't connect with my daughter or my son. But watch a video with them of me doing something silly. And that'll get the conversation started. That makes laugh. That gets us to our heart.
It does.
And the next thing you know, you're transforming your life. So jasonhewlett.com is the place. I also have a school's website, which is headtoheartschool.com. And that's where you can find Johnny Covey and myself and what we do for schools. So that's it. Yeah, I'd love to do something for you if ever a chance. And hey, let's give it up for Kris, Barney. Isn't she amazing?
Thank you.
Yes, golf clap.
Yes, thank you. Jason's wonderful. I get to see him every month at National Speakers Association and get to rub shoulders with him, and I'm so grateful to have had him on the show. Hope you go to his website, check him out, check all of his stuff out. He is amazing. He's funny, but he has good messages and wonderful family material. I love that the whole family can sit down and watch anything that you do.
Oh,
And-
yeah. That's a
and
big deal.
I do love that it's family friendly, and it will teach your children and your loved ones some really good principles and some really good things. So check out his Head to Heart program and come back and see us again. You can also go to my website and get the 6 traits to All Things Possible at www.allthingspossible.biz. Again, www.allthingspossible.biz. And we will see you next week. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.